Hey everyone, it is Jenna Montijo here of Simply Vegas, and today we are talking about escrows and what is escrow and why do I need an escrow and all fun stuff title. I know it's super exciting, so to make it even more fun, I have the best escrow officer ever right here, Miss Alicia Harworth. Hi.
Hi.
How you doing?
I'm good.
You nervous?
A little bit.
See, now she's nervous since we started.
I'm fine.
As I take a drink. Okay. So I just want you to briefly introduce yourself, let everyone know who you are and your role as an escrow officer in a real estate transaction.
So my name is Alicia Harworth. I'm from Ticor Title. I've been in the industry for 13 years now. Title and escrow is very complicated, and a lot of people don't know what I do for a living. My typical role is I'm a disinterested third party to a transaction, and my job is to make sure title to a property is completely clear and the buyer walks away with no debt on the property, and the seller walks away with no debt on the property, and the buyer takes over with no debt on the property.
Sounds complicated.
It is complicated.
So what does it mean? I know what it means, but maybe our viewers don't. What does it mean to transfer or have a property with nothing on it? Like, what does that mean? Like, what is that?
So when you have a property, think about it. If you have a property, what's the first thing a typical buyer is going to have is a loan, right? You're going to get your mortgage loan. There's going to be HOAs. There's going to be trash. There's going to be sewer. Lots of things attached to a property. So title and escrow's job is to make sure that everything is paid off to a zero balance from the seller. So when the buyer takes it over, the only thing that's attached to the property now is what the buyer accumulated, his loan, his new trash, his new HOA, all that good stuff. So the seller will walk away from the property without any worries, and then the buyer will now take over the property.
That's a good answer. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I guess you kind of explained it, the primary responsibilities of an escrow officer in a real estate transaction. Can you walk us through some of the key steps that are involved in a typical escrow?
Okay, so the first thing we do is we get the contract in. I have to check over the contract, make sure everything is pretty much completed correctly. I can't tell an agent how to complete a contract. I just have to make sure everything is checked off, initialed, all that good stuff. And then I open the transaction. So I order the preliminary title report. The preliminary title report tells us if there's any liens or judgments on the property that we need to take care of. It tells us any easements, if there's any clouds on title, those things. So that's when we say we're opening escrow, that's what we're doing. We're ordering a preliminary title report. And then I receive the earnest money in from the buyer, and I start contacting the seller to get all the information I need from them. I contact the buyer to get all the information I need from them. All the agents now know who's involved in the transaction, which would be me. I contact the lender, and I just start working the escrow.
You start working it.
Just start working it.
That's a lot of things.
It is. It's a lot. I mean, just starting a transaction, it probably takes about a good hour to get everything sent out, to get everything open, to get everything, all the contact the seller, the buyer. Some escrow officers they don't actually pick up the phone and call people, but I do. I introduce myself to the buyer, introduce myself to the seller. If I've never worked with the agent that didn't direct the deal to me, I will call, introduce myself to the agent. I like to kind of personalize my transaction. So if the agent has like a TC or they want their transaction ran a certain way, I notate that on all my files. So, I mean, just starting a transaction takes about an hour. Yeah.
That is a lot. Have you ever called a client and they're like, who are you and why are you calling me?
Yes. Everyone thinks I'm a fraud. They're like, okay. So I have to start out I can't say I'm calling you in regards to 1234 Spring Street, because if I say that, they're like, click. They think I'm trying to buy the property. They think I'm trying to sell them something. So I have to call and say, I'm calling to introduce myself to you. I'll be your escrow officer on your sale of, or I'll be your escrow officer on your purchase of, or I received your contract from Jenna Montijo. I will be your escrow officer on this. And so as soon as I introduce myself like that, then they're
they soften up.
Yeah, they're like, oh, hi. But if I don't, well, I get hung up on. I'm sorry, who are you? Attitudes. It's pretty funny. I mean, rightfully so. There's so much fraud out there nowadays.
No, and as an agent, I think it's funny that you say that, because one of my first conversations with my clients, either buyer or seller, is, so there's an escrow officer that's going to be involved in the transaction. Let's say I'm representing a buyer. I literally, because there's so much fraud, I send them this long email explaining what escrow is, and they still don't, know. They don't understand. They just don't get it. Mm-hmm. But I talk about, if you receive any correspondence, this is, his name. Mm-hmm. This is the office. This is this is what you can expect, just to try to help you guys out, because
right.
I know it can be. I know how I am when I answer the phone and I don't know who's calling me, so I can only imagine. Mm-hmm. And I think I'm kind of nice, so I can only imagine what other people are doing.
I mean, we ask for socials. It's like, well, I didn't need my social.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to finance something in here. Because you got to clear stuff off, and that's why you got your loan with your social. So it's just funny how people are super skeptical about us, but we're like the most important one.
Yeah, you are the handlers of the money.
Yeah, we handle the money. I am the one that's going to give you your, you're going to sign with me, you're going to close with me. I have all your information. It's a lot.
Your job is pretty important, because I know, like, in other states, there is no escrow officer. It's an attorney that handles the transaction. So that just goes to show the importance of your job. Mm-hmm. I mean, you're not an attorney, but you are, you're brokering on a third party level, mm-hmm. A transaction with the transfer of really funds and verifying funds and making sure that they're there and getting it all recorded at the county. And I don't know, it's a lot. So your job is important as an attorney.
Yep. I mean, I always tell people, sometimes when people argue, I'm like, you got to remember that in other states, attorneys do what we do. They go to school for this, and we're an escrow state, so I do that exactly. So there's a lot of legal things that come with title and escrow, and you got to follow it, because I want to eat cookies at the dinner table with my kids, not through a jail cell. You know what I mean? So everything has to be legal and straightforward, and that's why you use a disinterested third party like us. You want that. So.
And when she says disinterested, I mean, they really have no emotional attachment to anything. Mm-hmm. And I'm personally grateful for escrow and being a third-party entity, because it's nice just to have someone that is complete non-biased, and it's just black and white. Whatever's on paper that you're getting, you're just sharing the information, and it's information that I can't get. Like, for instance, I listed a house not too long ago, actually, and I did my due diligence. I dug in, and I made sure that the seller was the seller, mm-hmm. and there was no one else associated with the property. And it was funny, because about a month and a half into the listing, I get a call from an attorney asking me, what am I doing? And I'm like, wait, what? And they're like, you're selling a house and not all the sellers have signed the documents. I was like, I looked into it. The county has it as XYZ. I'm not showing any other current officer, any current owners on the property. And they're like, well, we just, they did something with the deed. I think they
added someone.
They added
someone or changed.
They added it, but the county hadn't up. I don't know if the county didn't update, and I know the county for the most part updates right away.
So sometimes when that happens, you can record anything on a property, but the county still has to approve it after, and they have about 2 to 3 weeks to do that, and they could not pass a deed. So they can record the deed, but the deed doesn't pass because there's something wrong with it. A name is spelled wrong. One of the parties that own the property didn't sign, so they won't pass it. And if it doesn't pass, they don't change ownership. Well, doesn't mean it's not recorded.
Right.
It is recorded. It's officially a cloud on title, but ownership hasn't officially changed. And it'll have like a little, if you call the county, they'll say, there was a deed recorded, but it's not passed. And so they have to have it corrected in order for it to pass. So that's probably what happened.
That's exactly what happened. Because the attorney was like reaming into me. I was like, I swear I did my job.
Yeah.
And then I actually, I called title or in escrow. I called you and I was like, hey, I need you to look this up. And there's no other way I would have figured it out if I hadn't had you run a deed search on it to find out who the seller is. And then some people may be asking, well, why didn't you get that done beforehand? And
you just don't know.
Yeah, and usually the county records are pretty solid. But in this case, it was not. And I did not get in trouble.
Oh, you have no idea. Sometimes we'll go to record a property, and it's been in escrow for a month, right? And we go to record it, and then our county comes back, and they're like, sorry, there's a lien that was just recorded 2 days ago.
Yeah.
And what are you doing with this? Are you paying it off? Are you releasing it? And it's like, you know, people get mad, like, why didn't you see this before? Because it was recorded 2 days ago.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then we didn't know, you know? So,
right.
I mean, the county's not always super quick with what they do. Exactly. So you gotta, that's why we do, you just double, triple, quadruple check. And then that's why you have your title company, because that's what we're supposed to do for a living. So,
yep. That's why it's insured. That's why you get title insurance, people. This is why you get title insurance. This is kind of it's within my subject, but I've had not so many, but every now and then I get questioned about title insurance. And they're like, well, why do I need it? I was like, well, this home has been sold X amount of times from all these different people, and you don't know what can happen through each different transaction. I've had that happen before where there's been, there was it wasn't a silent owner. It was just someone that should have received funds from a previous sale on the home that, see, you know. And it was an issue.
Maybe like a wife in a divorce.
Yeah.
I mean, so you got to think about everyone's human. And even the people that are writing up the title reports are human. The people at the county are human, and human makes mistakes. We make errors all the time. Clerical errors can happen. So imagine you are a buyer. You just purchased a property. You said, I don't want title insurance. I'm just going to sign a deed with my friend, and we're all good.
No.
So then you go to sell the property, and 2 owners ago, he had a tax lien. And you can deed the property 1,000,000 times, but everyone that has debt that owned that property, and you deed it and deed it and deed it and deed it.
Change ownership. That's what that means. Change ownership.
Change ownership. You can change ownership over and over and over. It does not remove the fact that they owed money, they owned a house, and now the IRS is coming after them. So imagine being a buyer, and you're selling your property, and $100,000 tax lien pops up from 2 owners ago, and you don't have title insurance, and a title company did not ensure that the property was completely free and clear when you purchased it. And that's what it's for. You know, if we are going to ensure that it's clear and we missed it, then that comes back on us. Our title insurance will pay for that, right? But imagine being a buyer, and now you have to come up with $100,000 that you don't even, it's not even your fault.
Right.
So that's what title insurance, it protects you against anything that could come up from the previous owners of a transaction.
Yep. So get title insurance, people. Do not get it.
I always recommend. I work with a lot of investors, and sometimes they're like, why do we even need title? I'm like, well, you don't want it to come back later.
Yeah, no, you don't. So how do you personally manage and ensure proper distribution of funds in an escrow?
So everything has to be cleared with banks, right? So we love wires, because wires is direct bank-to-bank transfers, and it goes through the Federal Reserve, which makes it good funds. I mean, they check for fraudulent things as it comes through. They check for, like, I guess, illegal foreign transactions, things like that. So when you wire funds, it's usually clean-cut funds. When it comes to checks, we have to make sure it clears with the bank. So a lot of times people get frustrated when we have to hold their funds when it's a personal check, but we hold funds, so we make sure it's cleared. It's our due diligence to make sure we have good funds, because if we're going to disperse funds, they have to be good funds.
They have to be there?
Yeah, they have to be there. They have to be there. It has to be accounted for. So we do have a great accounting department that handles a lot of transactions. We have a fantastic fraud prevention program that is implemented into our into the Fidelity brand altogether. I work for Ticor. We're a sister brand of Fidelity, and Fidelity has a great fraud prevention program and guidelines that we have to follow to make sure we have good funds, fraudulent things aren't happening, buyer's money is not going missing. we do a lot of education to buyers and sellers to make sure they're giving us good wire instructions, that they're not accepting wire instructions from other people. So when it comes to money nowadays, it's really scary because there's a lot of fraud out there. So having a title company that has a really good fraud prevention program and implements fraud prevention 100% is key to success when it comes to your transactions, for sure.
That's pretty good. Would you say that obviously you don't accept cash? I mean, even though it's great.
I would love it, but no. We do have people
cash.
that are like, I do cash only. Well, you got to go open a bank because we don't.
Cashier's checks?
We do. Cashier's checks.
No for earnest orders. Money, though.
Yes.
For earnest money. So, wait, no money.
No money orders.
No money orders. Mm-hmm. Cashier's checks are good. And that's just for earnest money deposit. What if I have like $100,000 or $500, whatever $1,000 to buy my house as a cashier's check? We can do that?
Absolutely.
Really? I learned something new today.
It's got to be on hold.
So how long is a typical hold?
For a cashier's check, I think the correct answer, if management was to see this, I think it's about 10 days maybe. Okay. But there are some cashier's checks we really don't have to hold because we match a bank number that's on the check to a corresponding bank number that's on a map. And if it's in a certain area in the United States that we're allowed to accept, then we don't have to hold it. I guess that's the easiest way to put it.
I get it.
But you can typically personal checks, it's up to like 15 days, and we have to have proof that it cleared your account. So there's different ways around holding a check, but typically I would say up to 10 days.
That's the correct answer.
That's a politically correct answer.
That's really correct.
We just make sure that it's the money's there. But yeah, there's ways of verifying good funds.
Yeah. So I think long story short is just to wire.
Yeah, long story short, wire your money.
Because I've had it in the past where clients are, a lot of people aren't okay with wiring money. Like it's a real big scary thing, and I get it because when I have had to wire money, I'm like looking at the what's it called? The wiring instructions, like 5,000. And this is what I tell all my clients. I said, hey, I will never email you. I will never call you, text you to tell you some random thing that, the wiring instructions changed. I will never do that. I said, you will receive them from your escrow officer at the time of signing. Once you get that, I don't care if she gave it to you or not. I don't care if she's in front of you, Alicia. Yeah. If they leave, you call that number and you verify it with your escrow officer just to make sure.
Yep, 100%.
It scares me.
Purchasing a house is, for a lot of people, their largest transaction they're going to make in their lifetime. And accumulating the amount of money that it costs to purchase a house sometimes is a huge deal to somebody. I mean, it's life-changing. And so could you imagine if you wired out your whole life savings on a house that you have been dreaming about in one swift click of a button because you opened the wrong wire instructions from somebody? It's just, education is super important. If that's one thing that I could give tell an agent when they talk to their clients is you just got to warn them about the dangers that are out there when it comes to like wire fraud and like what you get in emails and scams, and especially with the elderly. Yeah, especially with the elderly because they don't understand and they're not used to this new world that we live in.
Our new technology.
So, yes.
Yeah, no, it's scared. I'm scared, and I do it every day. What are you talking about? It's like,
me too.
See? I can only imagine. I mean, like I said, you send out wires all the time. Like, I would be so scared. Mm-hmm. Like, 'cause I don't know. And, no.
Right? Sellers get irritated because we have to call and re-verify their wire instructions, and they're like, why do we have to do that? Why couldn't you just wire it out?
We're trying to help you, I promise.
Yeah. Help me help you.
We're trying to help you, I promise. I promise, exactly. I promise, trying to help you.
Yeah.
Have you seen or can you share some of the challenges that you've had as an escrow officer?
Oh, gosh, there's so many challenges that can pop up. I think the main challenge I have is, I guess, just people understanding what we do and the importance of what we need. A a lot of times it's kind of difficult getting in like demands in. Like when I say that, we have to pay all the bills, right? Got to pay the bills. You can't have anything unless you pay the bills. Right. So getting a payoff in or getting a HOA demand in. And sometimes, you know, sellers are delinquent and they didn't tell you that they were, you know, about to foreclose on their house. And then we find out. And then now it just doesn't go through the lending company to get a payoff. Now I got to go through an attorney. And now there's a delay in escrow because it's going to take 2 to 3 weeks to get that payoff in, right? And so I feel like people don't understand that a lot. And we're the finger gets pointed quite often. And it's like, well, what's taking it so long? And what's, you know, why are you taking so long to get this payoff? And it's not me. It's not, you know, the bank. It's the process in which you have to order it. And every company can get busy or, you know, and it just takes a while. So I think getting things in a timely manner sometimes can be difficult. People understanding what we do and what we need is a little bit difficult. I think that's the biggest challenge that I have.
So education. So as agents, all my agents watching this, educate your clients of the process. And I always like to remind my clients, you know, I do it nicely. I'm just like, tell me what is going on, you know, in your situation. But I also ask, you know, how can I help you? What's the best way I can serve you? Tell me your situation in its entirety because I need to know everything.
Everything. So listen, here's a positive thing that Ticor Title and your marketing reps or your escrow officer can do for you. If you're going to a listing appointment, you can order what's called a lien summary from us. And that has a breakdown of anything that's recorded on the property currently that's active. So if your seller has a mortgage and they've been delinquent on it, there could be a notice of default that's recorded. That's recorded first, notifying you that you're under default. You have 90 days to get it to pay up, or a notice of sale will be recorded. And then at that point, you have some are 30, some are 60. I don't really know the amount, but that's recorded saying that your house is going to auction in 60 days. And so if you ordered a lien summary from me and you went to a listing appointment knowing that they're delinquent on their mortgage, delinquent on their HOA, delinquent on their trash, and they deeded the property to their grandma 2 weeks ago, no. And that also shows you're going in looking like a rock star. You're going to go in with a whole different mindset. Now you're like, okay, well, listen here, Mr. Johnson, your house is being auctioned off in 30 days. We have to come up with a whole new strategy on how I list your property. Maybe you get a cash buyer so it closes quickly. Maybe you lower the sales price so you can walk out, you know, maybe you find someone that would buy it as is so he doesn't have to move and clean everything. So you go in with a whole different mindset and strategy when you talk to your sellers, and you're more educated on what they have so they don't lie, right? People are embarrassed when they're in debt.
Right.
It's not an easy thing to talk about, oh, I couldn't pay my bills, you know? And so I don't know what they think that we're not going to find out.
Yeah, I know. I mean, life happens. That's the reality. Life happens. Like, yeah. I feel like it's like buying and selling homes is like going to the doctor. Mm-hmm. Like, you've got to tell your real estate agent the real picture. Right. And there should be no shame. Yeah. You know, it took me a lot of years to go into my doctor's office and say, hey, like, something is really wrong.
This hurts, that hurts, this hurts.
Something's wrong.
Don't judge me.
I need you to look right here. But I get it. It's uncomfortable, but I get it. But in all reality, like, we have to know. There was one situation where I was going on a listing appointment, and I had a lien summary, and I knew that the home was in pre-foreclosure. And the husband took care of all the bills. Wife didn't know anything. So I get there and, like, caused World War III. She didn't know.
Oh, goodness.
Let's just say that listing appointment lasted about 5 minutes, and I walked out.
Oh, gosh. Well, I mean, you know what?
I mean, I'm sorry. I would have to beat my husband. Sorry, people. I don't believe in domestic violence, but I'm just saying I would have to beat him.
Jenna, I'm going to need you to exit this building. Exit the home.
No. So I don't know, looking like a rock star was the case in that situation with my lien summary.
Well, you know what? You did. That kind of stuff is just unseen. It was unseen.
It was really uncomfortable. really uncomfortable. But
lesson learned for him, Mr. Seller, Mr. Husband.
Yeah, I'm not going to talk about him. He probably lost his house and his wife.
Are you watching this right now?
I'm so sorry. No, he's probably
Did you
not
call
watching
back
this.
and check up on
You know
him?
what?
See if he was still wanting to list?
It was so awkward. I
should have sent Damien.
I should have.
Said you didn't know each other.
So if you guys don't know, my husband sells real estate too. I should have sent my husband. I was uncomfortable. Like situations like that, I have to weigh out the pros and the cons. I was like, I'm really uncomfortable with this dynamic. Like, it was odd.
You know, I'm glad you get to walk away and not have to call people back.
I did. I was like, I don't.
You know, when the transaction's already open, I'm stuck. Let me tell you about a situation that happened with me. One day, I'm in a signing. This was before I was an escrow officer, and I had a couple, boyfriend and girlfriend, buying a house, and their parents, the daughter's parents were co-signing.
Okay.
The girlfriend's parents were co-signing on the property. And so we got to know vesting. Vesting is how you're taking title, unmarried, single, married, widowed, whatever. So I get down to that document, and it's a lender document. Are you taking title as an unmarried woman and an unmarried man as joint tenants? And I'm explaining what joint tenancy means and all that good stuff. They're like, yes, that's correct. So we're moving on. Daughter starts kind of getting nervous and like fidgeting, and I'm like, are you okay? Because people are nervous to buy a house. I was like, are you all right? Do you want some water? And she's like, yeah, I'm okay. Let's just continue. And she keeps looking at her parents, and she keeps looking at her boyfriend. And then next thing you know, she's like, okay, stop. And I'm like, what's the matter? And she's like, Mom, I'm married. We got married. We got married 3 days ago. Oh, Dad starts crying. Mom starts yelling. They're Hispanic. She's talking in Spanish. I'm not understanding a single thing they're saying, but I know it probably wasn't good.
Oh, no.
And they asked me to exit, and I was like, bye-bye. You let me. I had to tell the lender they're married now. Docs had to be redrawn.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Income changes a little bit, I believe.
Yeah. If someone has debt, if he has debt, that changes the whole. Once again, tell your agent or tell somebody. We're going to find out. We would find out.
Don't buy a car before.
I send them the 10 commandments.
Yeah.
There's 10 commandments. And I'll post it. I'll insert a picture right here of what I send my clients. Like, do not do this. Do this. Right.
That was the situation, but I couldn't escape that. You get to walk away and never see these people again. I can't. They had to come back.
Did they close?
They did. They closed.
Oh, see?
Yep.
So
they closed and they were happy. And I was like, now you bought a house as a married couple. I kind of low key side noted them, like, listen, you guys are so cute. Don't you worry about it. Don't you worry about it. You have a happy marriage. Doesn't matter how it happened.
You know what? So something similar to me like that happened a while ago. But I'm still to this day, I'm just like, wait, what just happened? So we get to the signing and they're signing and that doc comes up and they're like, we're married. And I was like, no, he goes, we're not married. And I was like, wait, what? I thought you guys were married this whole time. He's like, no, we're not married. I'm like, I don't get it. Like, literally, I said, I don't get it. And he's like, well, we went down to the courthouse and we signed and did everything, but we never filed the paperwork. So I think the lender, so I freaked out because I already know if you're married. What was it backwards? Anyways, I had to call the lender, tell the lender what was happening. He's like, I got to redraw docs, if they're married. I was like, no, but they're not married. I'm like, I don't know. Literally, we had to hold off for 2 days.
Rule? What is the rule?
No.
They're married.
No, they weren't married because they hadn't, they didn't file the documents. So they did the whole process, but they never turned in the paperwork to the county or whoever says you're married as an official, like officially married. They never filed the paperwork.
So it was all for the gram.
It was all for the gram. They're probably I love them to this day. They'll probably watch that. I would say I mentioned you guys because you guys to this day threw a wrench in my transaction and it haunted me for years.
So were they married or not?
They weren't married.
Okay, so we got to move forward.
Oh, that is. But crazy. It was after I gave my lender a heart attack because I called him and said, "Wait, they're like married." He's like, "No, there's no docs." I'm like, "No, they're married."
I want to see that certificate.
And then he's like, "Not married." I was like, "I'm confused at this point."
That's so funny.
Yeah. So there was I'm like, I'll have to edit this part. So communication. Communication is super important in real estate, just period. How do you as an escrow officer communicate with your clients? Like, are you, I mean, I know you mentioned that, you know, you pick up the phone and call and make sure everything is going, but throughout the entire process for 30 days or however long it takes to get the transaction done, how do you keep up with all the parties in a transaction?
Well, me personally, I email. I send updates all the time through email. And I also call. I pick up the phone. We have a 10-day email that goes out, and we pull the preliminary title report, and my assistant will put in there everything that we're working on the prelim. And then after the 10 days, then mid-escrow email goes out. Once everything's in, we'll send an email, and it says, all demands are in, title is now clear. Alicia, or if I send it myself, will reach out to you to schedule the seller. We're still waiting on loan docs. Then loan docs come in, I figure the file, I send that out. So I do a lot of email communication. Our company has an app now. It's fantastic. It's called In Here. And
oh, yeah, I've seen that.
You register.
I did register. Can't remember.
And it has milestones. Kind of like, you know, when you're going to get your oil changed and you get or when you're ordering food is a perfect example. Uber Eats will tell you your food is being processed, and then, or your food is being made, and then
it is processed.
Driver's on the way. Driver's 3 minutes away. Driver has delivered. Same thing with the In Here app. It's earnest money is in, title report is in, you know, commission instructions or broker package has gone out. Title is clear, and then we have, you know, loan docs are in. Seller has been scheduled. Seller has signed. Buyer has been scheduled. Buyer has signed. Loan docs are processing, you know, and then we have our transaction is closed. You got that email, that one time.
I got that one.
So we have it's a great app. You can also communicate through the app. So you can message me through the app and I get an email, and I can just email you back. It'll go through the app. That's great for some escrow officers because they don't like to text, or they don't give their personal number out to text. I do. I give my personal cell number out, so you guys can always text me, call me, whatever. I do answer on the weekends when I have
Not
a
Sundays
life.
Though.
I have a life.
Sundays she doesn't respond to nobody.
I don't respond to Jenna.
Not before 12.
You're right.
I am right.
12:30.
12:30. She has a time. 12:30.
I do 12:30. After 12:30, I'm available on a Sunday. I do yoga, soulful yoga, True Fusion. This is a not paid sponsor.
Yes.
So, I think communication is absolutely important in transactions, not just with the agents, with the buyers and sellers too, because they're like, well, I think I'm selling my house.
It doesn't
I haven't
feel
heard
real.
from anybody.
Well, it does. I feel bad for sellers sometimes because they're at the beck and mercy of the buyer at that point. Because let me just tell you, once we go into contract, sellers, that's it.
Yeah.
that's it.
Yeah.
Your terms are agreed upon. There's no backing out. I mean, you can get out, but it's not
difficult. You're locked in.
You're locked in.
But imagine being locked into something and not
not knowing
hearing anything.
Yeah, that's horrible.
Like, you know what's going on? I get calls all the time like, "Hey, am I still selling my house?" I'm like, "I don't know. I still have a transaction going. Everything looks good to me. I got all demands in. I'm just waiting for loan docs. I'm gonna get you scheduled in 2 weeks. You're a little ahead of the game."
Yeah,
you know,
they don't know.
It sounds funny, but like it's true.
I know. I'm telling you, I feel bad for sellers sometimes. I mean, not my sellers because I let them know.
Yes.
But some people don't. I mean,
they don't. And there's agents out there that don't communicate, and I'm telling you right now, communicate, because it makes my job so much easier when an agent answers their phone or an agent answers their text and their seller is happy and their buyer is happy. I mean, it takes 2 seconds to talk to your client.
Yeah.
You have no idea how many times I'm like, "Hey, what's your commission?" And then I get an email, "Haven't received commission instructions from you."
Because you haven't told me
what is your commission?
We
Am
don't
I
know
supposed to
that
send
yet.
it out 0-0? I mean, what do you want me to do? Right. So like,
I would totally do that. That's why I'm not an escrow officer.
Sometimes I'm like, Jenna.
That's why I would do that. Do you have any advice? I mean, I guess you gave some, but do you have any advice for other agents and potential clients when it comes to escrow?
Patience is key when it comes to title and escrow. I feel like, and grace and understanding, you know, kind of think about what you do for a living and what's important to you and how you want to be treated, and the process in what you need. You need documents signed by your buyer and seller. You need disclosure signed for your broker. It's the same thing with us. And you want your client to be taken care of and the property to be and the transaction to be handled right and done legally, and corners are not cut so you don't have problems later. You're not going to court later, right. You know? So just be a little bit patient and, you know, communicate. Communication's a big thing.
I think it just comes down to communication. I mean, that can alleviate so much everything.
Yeah.
So many problems just by picking up the phone or responding to an email or a text or whatever it is.
100%. And communication starts at your listing appointment. Communication starts when you talk to your buyer. What are you looking for? Like, you know, are you having kids? Do you want to be in a certain school zone? All that, you know, as an agent, I say that, and agents are like, well, duh, you know, listening to this. But, like, you'd be surprised when you get down to a signing and they're like, I hate where I'm living, but this is what, you know. And I'm like, what did you talk to? I don't step out of my third party. But in my head, I'm like, well, I mean, this conversation didn't happen in the beginning, you know?
No.
But
it should.
That's my advice to agents. And listen, I like to have fun when I work and joke around, and it's okay to call and ask how, you know, hey, how are the kids, you know, like, be more personable with your escrow officer. We're humans, like, have a good time, you know what I mean? Like,
right.
let's be friends, you know?
Well, I feel like if you can't be friends with people that you work with, maybe, I don't know. I'm the same way. Like, I like to actually have a relationship, even with my clients. Like, it's not, you know, hi and bye. Like, no, I'm nosy. I'm nosy just because I'm genuinely, like, interested. You
genuinely care about them.
And I care.
Yeah.
And that's it. Like, there's no other there's no other incentive for me. Like, I care, and that's about it.
Right.
Can you share some best practices when selecting an escrow officer?
Oh, yes. Let's see.
And company?
So company-wise, you first of all, as an agent, you want to have a marketing rep, and a marketing rep that's going to be there for you and help you out, and again, not cut corners for you, and be available. There's so many things that our reps can do for you as an agent to help you build your business, help you be more successful in what you do, help you with communication, help you with technology. Social media is a huge thing. People don't like it. Some people love it. Some people don't like it. But
she doesn't like it. Look at her.
Listen, she paid me. Here. Just kidding.
It's not a paid partnership here. No paid partnerships.
Just, you know, it starts with a marketing rep. You also want a really good title company. You don't want ABC title company. Like, who even are you? How are you even open? I don't even know. How are you existing? How many transactions do you do a year? You know, are you Fortune 500? Are you, you know, I feel like Ticor Title is a huge company. We're very reputable. We're very resourceful. That's our motto. Most resourceful people in town, you know. And we have a great team. We have a great management team that nothing is a straight no. If you have something that's odd and you want your escrow officer to maybe make it work, we have a great management team and a great underwriting team that they look at everything. You know, our manager Jill, she really tries to help our customers quite a bit, you know, and that is the type of company you want to send your escrows to. Someone that actually cares about your transaction, whether it's a $60,000 mobile home or a $12 million high rise on the Strip. All the transactions are the same. The buyers are the same. It's still important for them to live there, you know, it's their dream, no matter what it is, to be in that home. And so I feel like when you have a company that cares, escrow officer that's communicative, and escrow officer you get along with, you got to like your team.
Right.
Escrow is your team. Your lender is your team. You're not going to give deals to a lender that doesn't communicate and can't get a deal done,
That's right.
And so you got to build your team. You got to be happy with your team. When you're sending a buyer or seller to someone, you have to be confident in that team member. Listen, Alicia's going to take care of you, and I'm confident in that, right? So I think someone that you connect with. If you don't connect with your escrow officer, and there's another one that was kind of okay that you connected with a little bit, try them out.
Yeah.
I'm not opposed to, but also be loyal. When you find that person,
stick with them.
Loyalty.
Stick with them.
Loyalty is everything.
Yeah.
Right? I have people all the time that are like, oh, I'm sorry, Alicia, I'm super loyal to Lawyer's Title, and I'm like, listen, I would have nothing if I didn't have loyal clients. So I appreciate that. But if you ever have something come to Ticor, always ask for me. You can always say, oh, I can go to Ticor, but it needs to go to Alicia. That's all I ask for. So yeah, that's my advice. Was that
No.
Was that good to pick a title company, or were you looking for something else?
No, I think it's great.
The has to be cute.
Just Alicia. How do you choose your escrow
escrow officer? You write in Alicia Harworth, Ticor Title on the contract. That's how you choose it.
Yeah. I personally, Alicia, yes, is my escrow officer, and I'm very loyal. But it's been 1,000 years. I literally, when I got into real estate 17 years ago now, Miss Lois Golding was my escrow officer, which was her boss at the time because she was her escrow assistant.
She taught me everything I know.
If you guys ever work with Lois, she was great.
She was. We love Lois.
Yeah, I miss her.
We still hang out.
I love you still, but I miss Lois too.
Yeah. Fine.
But no, but in all reality, from day zero, I was pretty much working with you because Lois was crazy slam busy.
Always, yeah.
And I had 1,000 questions because I was a new agent, so I would just call Alicia, and Alicia would answer all my questions. So literally, she had me at a baby realtor, and now I'm just an old baby realtor. And
I love baby realtors. A lot of times they feel embarrassed to call and
No, I still ask questions, please.
I'm I'd rather you call and ask me and get the right answer than you just assume that you're right, and then now you're just
in trouble.
In trouble, yeah, for sure. Ask me a million questions. Let's sit down. Let's talk. Let's go over a prelim. I don't care. I'll meet with you.
Yeah, I still call her to this day.
She does.
And ask questions. There weird things come up in real estate. There's not one transaction that is every transaction is so different. Mm-hmm. And it's nice, and I'm so grateful of you to be able to call you on Sunday before 12:30. She does pick up sometimes.
I see her calling. I'm it is 11:59.
I want to do a charcuterie plate and sit out by the pool.
That might change things.
See, she might.
I'll answer for that.
Yeah, I think that's about it. I guess before we wrap it up, is there anything else you'd like to share? I think we covered everything.
I think we did.
It's pretty good.
It was pretty good.
See, I told you. She was nervous, you guys. Yeah. And I told her, don't be intimidated by my awesome office. Simply Vegas does it right. You like this? Simply Vegas plug.
It's pretty legit. I'm not going to lie.
I love my office. All right. Well, thank you, Alicia. And until next time.
Thanks for having me.
I have to have you come back once a year.
We can come back and talk about something not real estate.
Yes, we can. We can always come in here. Yeah. I can change the backgrounds.
My opinion matters.
Oh, my goodness. We can talk about Frankie J.
Oh, yes.
See? Insert picture. Frankie J. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for listening. Once again, Jenna Montijo, and I will see you guys later.